Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 23rd meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Education. I apologize for the late start and for the people having to stand around outside. Our work sessions, which we had 3 of them, one was on the annual Head Start and early Head Start governance training. Another was an update on the reorganization process in the human resources portion of the district. And the third was from the Bellarmine Literacy Project. Each of them wonderful learning work sessions at which no action was taken. We did have an unexpected delay and had to adjourn those for a little while, so that's how we got behind, and the preparation of the room, the switchover, took a little bit longer, so apologies for all that. No action was taken in those work sessions. So with that, let's begin our meeting with our traditional moment of silence. Okay, thank you. Let's now please rise for the national anthem. I'm sorry, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Excuse me, we're not singing. But I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Board Member Chris Brady is now going to read our vision statement.
JCPS's vision statement is, all Jefferson County public school students graduate prepared, empowered, and inspired to reach their full potential and contribute as thoughtful, responsible citizens of our diverse, shared world.
Thank you, Chris. It's now my pleasure to introduce Terry Robinson, who has a wonderful list of recognitions for this evening.
Thank you. Dr. Hargens, Board Chair David Jones Jr., and members of the Jefferson County Board of Education. This evening, we begin with a student demonstration of learning from Cochran Elementary and Dupont Manual High School students to commemorate Black History Month. Cochran Elementary School students, Janeza White and Samaria Bowman, will do biographical presentations on Senator Georgia Powers and Oprah Winfrey, and Dupont Manual High School student, Megan Sutton, will give brief remarks and show the film she created titled, I'm Black But I'm Not. Students, please come forward to begin your presentation. Janasia and Samario, you can begin your presentation.
Good evening, I'm Andra Lipscomb. I'm a 5th grade teacher at Cochran Elementary. Yesterday we had a fabulous Black History program in which all of our grade levels participated in bringing presentations. Either they were written presentations or they were oral presentations. And we ended our program with a skit by our 5th grade class where they did biographical sketches. And sit back, relax, and you're going to have some surprises with them tonight.
Did you know that my name is Janasia, and I'm going to be talking about Georgia Powers. Did you know that I was born in Springfield, Kentucky? Did you know that I did political campaigns, including the one of Edward T. Ned, who ran for governor and was successful? Did you know that I was a part of the March on Frankfurt? Did you know that I became the first African American and woman to be in the Kentucky Senate? Did you know that I am a role model for blacks as well as women? And vote for me.
Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. I've chosen to do my project on Oprah Winfrey. Did you know I was a television star? And I have been in many productions like Selma and The Color Purple. Did you know I am a big impact on the media because I have my own magazine and my own productions? Did you know at a young age I was Miss by Tennessee, and also at 17 I was a radio personality in Nashville, Tennessee. And I own my famous talk show, the Oprah Winfrey Talk Show. So since this is supposed to be the Oprah Winfrey Talk Show, you want a car, you want a car, you want a car.
All right. You like that? Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Okay, so my name is Megan Sutton, and I am a student at Dupont Manual High School. I'm the creator of the video I'm Black But I'm Not. It's basically a video that breaks stereotypes that are known across America and even other countries. I wanted to do this video for Black History Month because it was just an awareness after what's been going on around the world. And it comes from the popular BuzzFeed videos that also break stereotypes from different ethnic groups and other races as well.
In honor of Black History Month, here's Megan Sutton and Haley Watson's first video.
My name's TJ, and I'm Black.
Hi, my name is Johnny Brown, and I am Black.
Joshua John Marie, and I am Black.
My name is Mia Thompson, and I am Black. I'm Bria Jones, and I'm Black.
My name is Robert Spencer, and I am Black.
I'm Black, but I'm not ignorant, ratchet, or ghetto.
I'm Black, but I got to where I am because of my hard work, not affirmative action.
I'm Black, but you won't find my pants around my ankles.
I'm Black, but I'm not going to rob you, steal your purse, steal your car, anything like that.
I'm Black, but I won't be a part of the school to prison pipeline.
I'm Black, but I'm not violent.
But I'm not violent.
But I'm not violent.
I'm Black, but I'm not a burden to our society.
But I don't work at a fast food joint.
I'm Black, but I know my dad.
And I have a really close relationship with him.
I'm Black, but I'm not your token Black friend.
But I'm not pretty for a Black girl. I'm just pretty.
I'm Black, but I hate watermelon. It's disgusting.
But I know how to swim.
But you won't see me waiting in a line for a pair of Jordans.
I'm Black, but I don't rap.
But I really can't play basketball.
I'm Black, but I'm not illiterate.
I'm Black, but I'm not a crazy Black woman.
I'm Black, but I'm not angry for the reasons that society thinks I'm angry. I'm not whining about being unprivileged or unloved. I'm angry because I have every right to be angry. I'm angry because people are still hiding our history. I'm angry because there's African Americans and Black people who don't know our history. I'm angry because society forces us and belittles us to express our feelings and our emotions as if we're just supposed to shut up and be okay with the way the world is.
I'm Black, and I love working with younger children through summer camps and tutoring programs, and I want to be an elementary teacher.
I'm Black, and I'm an activist for Black people in unity.
I'm Black, and I am the managing editor for my school's news magazine.
I'm Black, and I own my own business. People work for me.
I'm black and I like lacrosse.
I'm black and I believe in women's rights.
And I'm a feminist.
I'm black and I'm proud to be so.
I'm black and I'm a photographer.
And I'm actually a writer.
I'm black and I love my natural hair. It is not unprofessional.
I'm black and I am an artist.
And I am proud to be a Haitian American because Haitians are cool.
I'm a force to be reckoned with.
I'm more than what stereotypes place on me.
And I'm proud of that fact.
I'm black and my black is beautiful.
Board Vice Chair Diane Porter, Area 2 Assistant Superintendent Amy Dennis, please come forward to thank the students for their presentation. Joining in the recognition are teachers Christopher Aplanoff and Audrey Lipscomb, and Assistant Principal Greg Kuhn and Principal Tim Foster. Thank you. I'd like to ask the parents of these outstanding students to please stand and be recognized. Next, we have the pleasure of recognizing the Jefferson County Public School District, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. contest winners from Minor Lane Elementary School, Seneca High School, and the Brown School. The theme for the essay, poetry, and art contest was Making Lives Matter. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. The students were asked to creatively express how to realize the dream of making lives matter in their own life and in the lives of others. Board Vice Chair Diane Porter, Area 6 Assistant Superintendent Joe Lefford, please come forward to congratulate the Brown School students, Zoe Summershine, Sam Aboud, Zach Lickensteiner, and Natalie Copeland. Joining in the recognition is their principal, Angela Parsons. I'd also like to ask the parents of these students to stand, please. Board Chair David Jones Jr. and Area 6 Assistant Superintendent Joe Lefford, please congratulate Seneca High School student Kadeh Atu Sharif. Joining in the recognition is Principal Kim Harbolt. And if Kadeh Sharif's parents will please stand to be recognized. Board Member Linda Duncan and Area 2 Assistant Superintendent Amy Dennis, please come forward to congratulate Miners Lane Elementary students Kizan Greer, Melanie Kazanis, and Shianti Martin. Joining in the recognition is Principal Zachary Eccles. And I would like to ask their parents to stand to be recognized. We are so very proud to recognize the team of Mazik Middle School students, Simi Bala, Mayuka Bamdapati, Francesca Capasano, Shreya Julakanti, and Mia Mercer, and Ellie Tilford as the Best in Nation winner in the Verizon App Innovative Challenge for its app, Farm Alarm. The app will help patients diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, dementia, and memory loss, as well as their caregivers, keep track of medications. In recognition of the students' outstanding achievement, their school will receive a $20,000 grant, and the students will work with experts from the MIT Media Lab to bring their design concept to reality. Board Vice Chair Diane Porter and Area 6 Assistant Superintendent Joe Leffert, please come forward to extend congratulations to the Mazik students. Joining in the recognition is their principal, Chris Berber. And I'd like to ask their parents to please stand and be recognized. The district has the distinguished honor of introducing the Louisville Male High School football team as the winner of the 2015 Russell Athletic Kentucky High School Athletic Association Commonwealth Gridiron Bowl Class 6A Football Championship. Please, gentlemen, come forward. Board Member Dr. Lisa Wilner and Area 3 Assistant Superintendent Dr. Paige Hartstern, would you please come forward and congratulate the team for their outstanding athletic accomplishment. Joining in the recognition is their coach, Chris Wolf. Assistant coaches, Les Goldring, Keith Eckloff, Craig Brewer, and Ed Logan. We have the honor of recognizing two outstanding JCPS teachers for being named Kentucky Music Educators Association Teachers of the Year. Elizabeth Lyles, teacher at Knoll, was named the 2016 Kentucky Middle School Teacher of the Year, and Linda Pulley, teacher at Iroquois High School, was named 2016 Kentucky High School Teacher of the Year. The mission of the association is to promote music education throughout Kentucky by encouraging the study and making of music and advocating for issues affecting the accomplishment of this mission. Board Vice Chair Diane Porter and Area 2 Assistant Superintendent Amy Dennis, please congratulate Elizabeth Lyles. Joining in the recognition is Principal Jennifer Cave. Board Member Linda Duncan and Area 2 Assistant Superintendent Amy Dennis, please congratulate Linda Pulley. Joining in the recognition is Principal Clay Holbrook. It is with sincere appreciation that we honor Virgil Baldwin Jr. upon his retirement for more than 20 years of exemplary service and commitment in providing video broadcasting coverage of the Jefferson County Board of Education meetings. Board Chair David Jones Jr. and Dr. Hargens, please come forward to extend our appreciation to Mr. Baldwin. Dr. Hargens, will you please come forward to give remarks for another very special presentation?
A Golden Oar Award is a special recognition given only to those staff members who model the values outlined in Vision 2020 in their work every day. The Golden Oar recognizes individuals and teams whose specific actions are moving the district in the right direction by exemplifying the core values of Jefferson County Public Schools. This award winner exemplifies all 10 values: caring, equity, excellence, respect, individuality, diversity, opportunity, creativity, collaboration, and stewardship. This person has served the district for almost 29 years and has performed above and beyond every day, every minute, for the benefit of the students of Jefferson County Public Schools. It is my honor to recognize Area Superintendent Kirk Lattimore with a Golden Oar.
Dr. Hargens and members of the Jefferson County Board of Education, this concludes our recognitions for tonight. Thank you.
Wow, that was above and beyond. That was a great, great set of recognitions. I don't think we've ever received automobiles for our board service before, or buttons. An incredible video for which we're grateful, and I think that is the most powerful group that has ever stood before us and blocked our vision. The gentleman in the black male football insignia. So thank you all very much. It is our custom at this point to dismiss students, parents, and staff. Anyone who has homework or other business to do, you're very welcome to stay and enjoy the rest of the stimulating board meeting, but those who would like to leave are welcome to do so. So we'll take a brief pause. Is there a question or comment? Yeah. Oh, come on up. What do we got? Well, wait a minute. We have one more presentation here. Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Undefeated. All right. The school board members now have a jersey that says undefeated. We're gonna take that as encouragement.
Oh, that is too neat.
Oh, look at you. Oh my God. Yeah. There you go. You want her to photobomb you? There you go.
You want to wear a shirt? There you go.
That is just too neat.
Hey, I forgot to mention, my father is a male grad football player. I know what I'm doing with this jersey, so thank you all. He still sings the fight song.
Oh, that is just too neat. That's great.
I might not. Okay. Is there now a motion to receive the recognitions? Diane moves, Chuck seconds, all in favor, unanimously passed. Next we have the approval of the minutes of the prior meeting. Is there a motion? Chuck moves. Is there a second? Lisa seconds, all in favor. That also passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Dr. Hargens, it's now the time for you to make your report. Let's give people another moment to move forward and get settled. You can start when ready. Steph, can you pin that down to the Steph?
That's a cool table.
That's the cool kids.
Cool kids.
They're having more fun down there. I know, exactly. I agree.
Sometimes
I agree with that, yes. I think so too.
Okay, let's come back to order, and we will now invite Dr. Hargens to give the superintendent's report.
Chair Jones, members of the board, I call to your attention a few items of special interest. Thanks again to the students from Cochran Elementary School and Dupont Manual High School for honoring Black History Month. I would like to thank the teachers, parents, guardians, and community members and community resources who support the Scholastic Arts Award. JCPS has participated in the Scholastic Art Awards for more than 50 years. Over the past 10 years, student participation in our region has grown from 800 entries to 2,291, and some of that artwork was displayed in the lobby this evening. Saturday night, it was an honor to attend the YMCA's 37th Annual Black Achievers Award celebration. 24 2016 adult achievers were recognized, along with 69 Black Achiever seniors. Ms. Porter's daughter, Danny, was recognized, and a scholarship was awarded in her honor. We want to congratulate Joe Tolan, President and CEO of Metro United Way, on his planned retirement that was announced today. Mr. Tolan has been a great supporter of JCPS, and we wish him the very best in retirement. The Robo Rumble Vex and Lego robotics competition was held at Ramsey Middle School on Saturday. This event has grown from 14 teams competing the first year to 160 teams. The Robo Rumble Vex robotics competition is won in a series of tournaments with the top performing teams competing against each other at state and Vex World competitions. Kudos to Dr. Michael Razor, who by invitation only presented and is in California right now at the EduTech Facilities Conference in San Diego this week. The conference is attended by the nation's largest school districts, facilities, technology, and operations officials. Dr. Razor presented on lean management, simplifying operations, and doing less better. Kudos also to Dr. Dina Dossett and Dr. Bo Yan, who presented to the American Association of School Administrators in Phoenix, Arizona last week. They presented on building a transparent and efficient budget that fosters continuous improvement. The Superintendents Report will every time keep you updated on the overall execution of Vision 2020. We are in the process of loading projects into project management tracking software, but I want to remind you again of our planned outputs for June. Summer literacy boost for 1,000 Title I students. The addition of 20 schools for a total of 58 schools in the Bellarmine Literacy Project. Kindergarten readiness camps expanded to over 1,000 students. Expansion of pre-K. A board-approved definition of deeper learning. A school choice predictability tool, a targeted outreach plan to increase choice applications, a student mobility report, expansion of PBIS, positive behavior intervention support, expansion of Louisville Linked, a facilities needs assessment by February 5th by next month, and a district facilities plan by June 30th. A new universal internal ticketing system for a July 1st go-live date, an external JCPS 311 system, 311 system to go live in August, a needs assessment and standards to move toward a district technology roadmap, a redesign of human resources and employee relations, you heard about that at the work session, budget consultations with schools, an expanded out-of-time system, a plan of offerings to build capacity in teachers to reach underserved students, and the expansion of the student voice projects. I want to shout out some exciting things happening in Dr. John Marshall's department. Minority teacher recruitment is intended to bridge our high school seniors to the minority teacher recruitment programs across the state. Literature and programming. The program is designed to provide McKinney-Vento eligible students the opportunity to increase literacy proficiency while learning life-enhancing pursuits. This is designed for 3rd and 4th grade students to help meet the district's 3rd grade pledge. Educator Rising, starting in middle schools. Educators Rising provides passionate young people with hands-on teaching experience. Menaissance is the high school literacy project. It's an out-of-school time initiative involving young men from various high schools throughout the district. The participants are reading the classic To Kill a Mockingbird and a contemporary novel, How It Went Down. The capstone project for this group is the production of a CD. 2 cohorts of young high school men from Valley and Ballard are involved in learning coding again from local coding professionals. These cohorts are hosted at computer labs at the NIA Center and the Louisville Urban League. Voice for Our Children are a monthly seminar series for JCPS parents to receive information on tips and strategies to strengthen advocacy for their children. So Chair Jones, this concludes my report and my recommendation for approval of the consent agenda later in this meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Hargens. We next move to action items, and there are no speakers on the action item agenda. So the first item is the board organization item related to the finance work group. And Dr. Hargens, if it's okay with you, let me just make a quick introduction of that. 2 weeks ago, Steph, you made the good request that we turn that we create a written mandate or a written record of what the finance working group is working on, which is what we had done with the two now completed work groups and the new wellness work group that we've just launched. The what do we call it? The rationale portion of the agenda item, which was distributed to us, serves that purpose, and what it basically does is summarize the 2015 work that's gotten us to where we are, and then call out in an intentionally very high-level way what the what we want the finance work group to do, which is to support what is a significant transition underway in how the district goes about budgeting and funding its activities. The work, and Chuck, I'll kick it to you in just a second, but the thought was because the Chief Business Officer is still relatively new, there's a lot of change in Frankfurt, there's a lot of movement in the structure of the organization, that general mandate for the moment would be the best way to to describe to the board what is going on, also to call on the work group to pull in community experts and staff folks as needed. So Chuck, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, I would. Come on, there we go. I would say that it's important for this group to be nimble. And what I mean by that is, as always with any working group, we want to invite board members to have input. I know I've had conversations with some of you all, and how this group continues to shape, but also helps us with the responsibility that we have to oversee the budget, and also the mission that we've all collaboratively agreed to make sure that our resources match our strategy, our vision. So I would say that we started off with a real simple purpose about having another vantage point or another view of how the budget is created. I remember talking with CFO Cordelia Harden, and it was a very good conversation early on in the formation of this. And one of the things that I thought was very helpful is if you have different views or different vantage points, you can see a better full picture. And that's what we hope to accomplish with the chart that we presented in November, and we'll continue on that as the budget process is something that we want to make sure that we keep an eye on. So anybody is welcome to provide input for that as well.
Okay, great. Are there questions or comments for Chuck or me or Donna or anything on this? Okay. Yes,
I just have one question. Are these the only two work groups that we're going to have, or are we going to have an opportunity to talk about adding another?
So I thought we would talk about that when we got to the agenda planning calendar.
Okay.
But the short answer is, for now, these will be the two work groups, and the suggestion that I'm going to make is that in June, after the management report on facilities, that seems to be sort of the next sort of big rock in terms of other suggestions that we've received. But I know you have another suggestion, and that'll be my suggestion, but let's discuss it when we get to that point.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay, this is an action item, so is there a motion to approve the finance work group as described? Chuck moves, Steph seconds, all in favor, unanimously agreed upon. Thank you very much. We have Sorry, we have no information items on the agenda tonight. Dr. Hargens has previously recommended the consent calendar, but in the days before the meeting, there have been several requests to pull down 2 items from this. They are items 8C, job descriptions, and 8D, organizational charts. Some of this we covered in a work session, but first, thank you to all the board members for sharing the desires for pulling stuff down ahead of time. I think Tom Hudson is going to give us a sort of a quick summary of what we're doing on that if we still want that. Are there any other items that people have thought about and want to pull down? Okay. Do we want to hear from? Can we vote on the consent agenda and then hear from it? Yes, that's a good idea. Let us vote on the consent agenda with the exception of items 8C and 8D. May I take that as a motion? Steph moves. Is there a second? Okay, Lisa seconds. All in favor? Good. Consent agenda is approved except for these 2. And I think the general questions, if I can summarize, and then others can improve on this, but it was, could you just give us a high-level overview of why so many moves of boxes in the organization chart? Is that a fair beginning summary? And then there'll be Q&A as we go along.
The question again is why so many moves?
Why so many moving pieces on the org chart?
Because they needed to move to be efficient.
Right.
The org chart as it relates to Cordelia and the finance department, they had the people reporting to Cordelia reporting to me. We both felt it was important to allow them to continue to report to Cordelia. There was no reason for me to get involved. That is run very well and tight as a drum, so that was unnecessary. If you go to the HR part of the organization, there were a number of moves there, and we're not even finished with those yet. The conceptual chart you saw in the working group of where we're going, and that is going to streamline the entire operation, and as we discussed at the working group, needs lots of work, and it will get lots of work, and it will get results, as I promised in the working group. The employee relations labor management piece formerly reported to Dr. Razor. It seems to make sense to move it over here. All of us in the cabinet agreed that that was an appropriate thing to do. There were no changes within that organization other than to move it to business services. And then the final change was the career to tech ed organization. There were no changes there. They just moved to business services.
Okay. Thank you. And I guess the only thing I would add, we had a good work session on especially the HR department changes. Those, there's been a lot of pressure from the board on Dr. Hargens to improve the functioning of the HR system, and just those were responsive to that pressure. It wasn't just you need to move them, but the board has said we got to do something here and improve this.
And by the way, all of us in our organization agree.
Yeah.
So there's no
Great
disagreement.
Okay, I'll open the floor to other questions or comments. Lisa?
Thank you for addressing those and for the really excellent overview in the work session today. One of the other sections was moving the area superintendents. So Dr. Hargens, maybe you could talk about that.
The area superintendents formally reported to the chief academic officer, but they are the direct link to the principal, so we felt it was really important to move them as direct reports to the superintendent. So that's what that change is.
Okay, other questions or comments? Okay, is there a motion to approve items 8C and 8D? Chuck moves, second. Lisa, all in favor? Aye, it looks like that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. So the consent calendar is now completed. We move on to board reports, requests, and the planning calendar. Let's start with reports, then we'll go to requests, and then we'll go to planning calendar. Who would like to make a report to begin? Let's start with Chris, and then we'll stagger and go outward, if that's all right.
Sorry, I'm turning on this mic, so we're having sound issues today, so please bear with us. I just want to make some real positive reports about what's going on in the district. The superintendent touched upon this a little bit earlier. Ramsey Middle School had a fantastic robotics competition this past weekend, of the VEX robotics competition. And I also want to send out congratulations to J-Town High School for winning the Robo Rumble there. So they did a fantastic job. It was amazing to see how many people showed up on Saturday morning over at Ramsey. Very full parking lot. I had to park all the way over to bus compound. So if you've ever been there, you know that's quite a little bit of a hike. But it was a great event. It was fantastic, and I just want to say thanks to Ramsey for hosting the event and doing such a great job, and for the district for being able to have the competition. Also want to send special thanks out to Manual PTSA for their Founders Day Awards. They invited myself as well as some other board members to that luncheon, and that was really great there to go to that event and hear their men's choir perform was also pretty neat, and they did a fantastic job. I also want to convey some extra congratulations to Laura Oskins, who was the Excel Award winner at Farmer Elementary. We had the opportunity to be able to see that last week, and she's been a fantastic teacher, and she joins 3 of her other colleagues there, 4 total at Farmer, as all Excel Award winners. And of course, for those of you who may not know, the school only opened in 2007, so lots of folks there, lots of Excel winners there. And speaking of Farmer, I also want to congratulate their quick recall team. They were National Beta Club state champs at the National State Convention for the Beta Club. And so they're Division I state champs, so at the elementary school level. So I want to say congratulations to them. And finally, another congratulations to another set of champions are over at Ramsey Middle School. The cheerleading team are also state cheerleader champs for that. So I just want to convey those congratulations. That's my end of my reports.
Great. Thank you, Chris. I'll turn to the right if anybody wants to make a report from this side. Okay. Diane.
Just wanted to share some more positive news. Today we had an opportunity to attend a luncheon that was provided or sponsored by the Fund for Transforming Education, and we had the wonderful opportunity to hear Alan Houston, and he was talking about investing in children, the work that he has done all over this country. He is a JCPS graduate. He talked about students having basic needs, social and emotional well-being, and core values: faith, integrity and character, sacrifice, leadership, and legacy. So it was a wonderful opportunity to hear Alan, a graduate of JCPS, come back to the community, and he was scheduled to go to Neighborhood House this evening. So he has gone all over the country with a mentoring program with his dad. So just wanted to share that and thank him for being here and the work that he has done and will do for us. Also, to piggyback on Dr. Hargan's announcement about the Black Achievers celebration, wanted to let everyone know that it was the 37th year of the celebration, 37 years that has gone on, and there were scholarships ranging from $200 to $185,000. 100% of the seniors will attend college. 100% of the seniors will attend college. The program serves, thank you, that deserves a round of applause. The program serves youth residing in Southern Indiana, Jefferson, Bullitt, Oldham, Shelby, Nelson, and Hardin counties. The speaker for the evening was Dr. Calvin Mackey. His comment was, "Greatness is within you, and you can't let anyone take it away from you." And that kind of piggybacks into the fact that I visited Brandeis Elementary last week for a student celebration, and they discussed perseverance. Elementary school discussing perseverance and getting through life with the many things that are put before you. And just wanted to give a shout out back to Black Achievers, to Mia Thompson, a Manual High School student who received the scholarship in honor of my daughter. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. I'll turn back, Lisa, now to you.
Excuse me, mine will be brief. I just want to extend a congratulations to Minor Daniels Academy on having their first high school graduate since the new school has opened. So that's a big success for the school, and a congratulations to Principal Don Dillard. It was a treat to be there for that event. I just wanted to extend an invitation. I'm picking up the mantle of the wellness well-being work group, and just want to invite other board members, if you're interested in participating on that, to let me know, and I'll be giving you updates as we go along. And then also, I just wanted to mention at the last meeting we had an update on the alternative schools. I had asked a number of questions that I didn't really expect to have answered that night, but said that I would be forwarding those questions, and I have done so. So I guess we should be on the lookout for responses to those questions. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. Turning over to Steph now.
I had a wonderful opportunity. I'm trying to make sure I spend some real quality time inside our schools, and had a great opportunity to visit Dunn Elementary School, and I attended a wonderful science experiment in Miss Faber's third grade classroom. There was a parent who was volunteering for the day. He and his wife came in. He was a scientist, a chemist, and so he did this great experiment with the children. It was really hands-on learning. They were up to their elbows in a diaper and how it expands, and it was talking about water. So it really was wonderful to be in the school, to see the children learning at a level that really was way beyond, what I learned as a third grader, learning about H2O. I also attended Miss Watkins' enrichment class. Dawn is doing a unique program, and they have an enrichment teacher that has a class that has some of the gifted and talented children, also some early talent pool children, that they are able to really provide this incredible enrichment. It's a program that may be in jeopardy with the budget cuts, or budget, the changes. So it just was really good to see this really important program going on at Dunn. So it's great to see it firsthand. Also, I just wanted to share with the board, one of my principals is at Westport Middle School, Jody Zeller, and he has a email that comes out every Monday, and it is a priority school. So it really has been giving me a wonderful insight, on a weekly basis into all of the efforts and the energy that the staff at Westport are really trying to really move the needle with achievement at Westport. So I would be happy to share that maybe a few times. I may pass it along, not to spam you, but I really think you might get a lot out of it too. So I might send it this maybe until the next board meeting a couple times. The other thing that I just wanted to make sure that I recognize and addressed it. Donna, Dr. Hargens and I did attend a wonderful town hall meeting with our Metro Council rep, Glenn Stuckel, in our district at Northeast Christian Church. It was very well attended, so I know that all of the Metro Council representatives hold town hall meetings in districts. I do encourage you to attend. Donna talked for almost an hour, and it was quite something, but it was challenging, and it brings up an issue that I want to just address in this forum also. There was I thought, a very wonderful article by one of our news people, Tony, and she had brought out an interesting subject, really kind of a budget matter, and in some of my budget votes, I have been voting against the budget because I just want more money to go into the classroom. On this particular issue, it's a little more complex, from my perspective as a board member, but I thought it did bring out the idea that nurses are just extremely important. It kind of educated me even more on why we have nurses, because they do enable our children to be healthy and be in class so they can be there. But it did strengthen my resolve to stand up for just trying to keep the main thing. And I personally would like to see our core services like reading and literacy. I would like to see this work that goes on in the classrooms from an Everyone Reads. I would like to see those funds actually be utilized for reading and literacy. I do not believe that Cordelia Harden, I lift her up as an example of someone who does an awesome job. She's compliant, but she is taking her leadership from the board and then also from the superintendent. And so she is a fabulous CFO, but she is following our direction in how we are allocating these funds. So my request is just to Dr. Hargens, just for more transparency. There is no intent here. We all knew that, and we're told that Kentucky Department of Education, as David Jones has said publicly, that this was something that was agreement between Kentucky Department of Education and JCPS. For many years, it had been an openly agreement. But I do ask just that in the materials that we were provided, it did say this was an Everyone Reads nursing initiative. And I don't think if it really was not a nursing initiative, I'd appreciate just more transparency in how it's presented
Steph,
to the
I don't
board.
understand. Are you asking a question or making a report?
I just am requesting
So what's the question?
more transparency. I'm requesting more transparency from our superintendent, because she's the one who's presenting it to the board as the Everyone Reads nursing initiative. And I'm not sure it was, and I just want more transparency. And I think you're trying to give it, but I just want more.
Okay. We'll go to Linda.
Well, I was going to just give a few report things here. I'm not doing the request thing right now at this point for me, but I just wanted to, I also attended the Manual's Founders Day luncheon, and I know several of us were there. Lisa was there, and Chris was there, and we had it was a great chance to recognize people who work hard for this district. And I know Miss Mudd was recognized there. She teaches dance, or did teach dance at Manual, was an instructor for my son when he attended there. And I love the chance that it gives to recognize people who work so hard for this district, including Pinky Jackson, who was the president of the PTA there and has been for several years. So that's always a great event to attend. I also attended the Medora Talent Show Thursday night, and then Friday afternoon for the students. They have the talent show for the students. And all I could think about during the talent show was how important it is for us to remember that whole child. When I'm watching those kids up there be magicians and musicians and dancers and singers and news reporters, how important it is for us to remember there's a whole child there, and that we've got to give opportunities to kids during the day so they can express those other talents and gifts that they have. They're not all just about academic life, but it's always a great event. Mr. Evans, Miss White, Miss Pickup, and Miss Glass spend great amounts of time preparing for this show. So, and then Mr. Evans worked so hard moving tables in and off and on the stage to allow it to happen. So I just wanted to recognize them for a second. Tomorrow I'm going to be at Simple Elementary for the Wax Museum. They have a Black History Month Wax Museum presentation. That's always a wonderful event where the kids tell you about the person that they're impersonating in the form of a Wax Museum character. And on Monday, I don't know if anybody else is, but I am going to try to go to Shawnee and shadow a student and get a taste again of classroom life. I've done that. I mean, I had a taste of it for a long time in the classroom, but today I think it'll be kind of a fun experience to go that way, and I'm just hoping that the principal thinks it's a fun event.
Okay. Thank you, Chuck. You got anything? Okay, I've got just a couple of things, and I'm going to follow up on the theme introduced by that great video that the manual students had presented, which is Black History Month. And this is more, since most of the students have gone home, we're all now mostly adults in the room, and there are several really interesting things going on in the community. There are different community reads projects where there are important books being read. One of them that I'm currently reading by Edward, I think it's Baptist, it doesn't have an E on the end, or Baptiste. It's called The Half Has Never Been Told, Slavery in the Making of American Capitalism. The book group is called Empower West. It's a group of West End and East End ministers who have organized it, but on February 29th at 7 p.m. at Highland Baptist Church, there is a discussion, a community discussion. You can go online. The tickets may all be gone. They're free, but you got to sign up. But very, very powerful book. Kentucky figures prominently, and although I haven't finished the book so far, not in a way that will make very many of us proud, I'm sorry to say. And the other one is Wilkerson's book of a few years back called The Warmth of Other Suns, The Epic Story of America's Great Migration, which again is very, very important about the migration of African Americans from the South to the rest of the United States. Probably also important for this district given the impact of migrants from other parts of the world. Migration to urban centers is probably, I mean, it's one of certainly the mega trends going on in the world right now, and Louisville is benefiting from people moving here from all over the world. So and I'm sorry, The Warmth of Other Suns is the Urban League's book. I apologize, I didn't mention that. And I don't know when they're get together, or maybe they have a Facebook page for community comment, but both of those are, I think, constructive ways of learning about our own history in the way that our students are doing as well. So with that, let's zip back around with requests. We'll start on the outside and work in now. Chuck, do you have any requests? You do not. Linda?
Yes, I sent requests to Dr. Hargens earlier. I'm a little confused about our format on this right now. If I don't know if I'm supposed to send the requests and then just wait for an answer, or if I'm supposed to make the requests during the meeting because we decided that that we would change that. So I'm a little confused about it. But I did send several requests to Dr. Hargens, and they all weren't related to the agenda items tonight. So. It's a question mark in my mind what my request is, when is appropriate time to make the request. But I did have questions. I did send them to Dr. Hargens, and among those, I did ask for Dr. Hargens to try and explain to us how that confusion happened around our nurses, because I know the board knew and approved that we were funding Everyone Reads and nurses. I mean, we saw that on the agenda item, but that wasn't the issue. The issue was that it was still reading Everyone Reads at the state level. And I had asked a question. I had asked Dr. Hargens about that before the meeting. Why? Because I didn't think we were still accepting Everyone Reads funding, because I didn't think we were still having the program formally the way that we did. But she explained it was about the nurses. So, but the state didn't know it was about the nurses, and so I just made a request that how should we have done that? How should that have been done so that the state would have known and it would have been written Everyone Reads or nurses there, so that would have been answered for us. Yep. The other requests are, I'll just, whenever you get the chance to do those, I appreciate that. Yep. One of them is related to Lisa's visit in Hamilton, Ohio, and restorative practices, and some information on that.
All right, thank you. Do you want to comment now on that? Because that's the second time this has come up.
I just asked Ms. Harden, the report or the Munis reports, the ones that I read said everyone reads / nurses. Ms. Duncan, it was on the reports.
It was not on the state, the list of the budget item where it was listed. It was everyone reads is the only thing that said. Our agenda items said it when we all knew it. I mean, it was something that was coming through to us, but the state report didn't say nurses.
Ms. Harden.
The budget bill itself did not say everyone reads nurses. You are absolutely correct. However, the information that we have sent to KDE every quarter since 2009 has said everyone reads nurses initiative. In addition, there are emails between KDE and the grants and awards staff that reports to me where there were some questions that did come up about the nursing initiative and how we were tying it into everyone reads. We provided that explanation to them, and the issue is, as Dr. Berman stated when he was here, the priority of the nurses was you cannot teach a child to read if that child is not in school. So we also have surveys that we did or data that we compiled that we saw that 89% of our students that went to see nurses were actually returned back to the classroom. Thank you. Those children, instead of them when they went to see a nurse versus going to see maybe the office staff, when they called a parent and the bookkeeper or secretary or attendance clerk, whoever is working with the student, when they call the parent and say, Johnny's got a bellyache, I don't know, a headache, you might want to come and get him. However, when that nurse calls a parent and says, I've examined Johnny and, he's maybe got a little tummy ache, but I don't see that there's any need. He doesn't have a fever. I see no need for you to come. I believe he can go back to the classroom. And therefore, he can continue to have that reading or math interventions with his teacher and his classmates. So there is a relationship for the Everyone Reads Nursing Initiative to reading and nurses. And that was even several studies. Massachusetts, there was a large study there where I think almost every district in Massachusetts has nurses, and it's related to the literacy that they have in their state also.
But
Thank you.
It was odd, though, that when we did the relaunch in 2013, we never mentioned nurses. We just relaunched Everyone Reads. And so that is what makes things confusing about that.
Well, it was called, in the relaunch was Everyone Reads More. And that initiative, again, did lay out nurses as part of it. Now, there are several pieces within the Everyone Reads program. There is the foundation that has, where the volunteers had, or the community had raised some funds. And then there was the budget line item that our legislators put into the budget program. The first 5 years of that program, coming from the state, was used for teachers, also for supplies, textbooks, supplemental instructional materials, and then training, for training some of our individuals that would be working with our students. But as we saw some of the needs of our district, the health and wellness of students, and again, making sure they're in the classroom, we saw that that was important. That was presented to the foundation and to the community, and the reports were sent to KDE, and they were aware. Now, that being said, there are a lot of new individuals at KDE, so they may not have been individually aware, but some of the staff that we reported to is still with the Department of Education, and those individuals, I have emails that shows we did report that information.
So, and if I may, I'm going to add an outside perspective. I was not on the board in 08 and 09, but I was on the Everyone Reads Steering Committee, which was a Greater Louisville, Inc. Entity that included representatives from the big foundations in town, some of the the education activist groups in the district, worked with Dr. Berman, Marty Bell. At that point, the framework of the program, which I think started in '04, was the community asked Dr. Berman, what do you need to get all kids reading at grade level by X date? Or what would it take? District scurried around back in '03 or '04, long before most of the people were here, and came back and said, we need to launch these various initiatives, and we need about $2 million a year for 4 years. So $8 million of private funding. We will get some initial funding for the state, and at the end of that time period, we will have, and I don't remember the name of the programs, there'll be people in here, but we will have taken certain teacher training initiatives, certain curricular materials, and we will introduce them throughout the district, and we will move the needle in reading. We will also have, 8,000 community volunteers organized to go in the school, and there was a big gearing up of the community in that time period. I've gone back and looked at some of the data in the aftermath of this kerfuffle here. And there was a lot of energy that went into it. The design of the program from the beginning was, actually it was Dr. Dashner, not Dr. Berman. Dr. Dashner, I apologize, Berman's predecessor said, $2 million a year for 4 years, and then we'll be up to grade level. Well, at the end of 4 years, significant progress, but not up to grade level. But what came next was the programs folded into the regular district budget. The changes had been made. If you look at at least the data that was reported to that committee at that time, they identified like $89 million of total funding over the course of the 4-year period. It was not incremental funding. It included the foundation funding, but there was a bunch of change that went along. At the end of that, Dr. Berman came in. He said, done with that. We want nurses. The notion that this was not transparent, or that this was some kind of a surprise for the people who were involved at that point is, as I've said, preposterous. That it was not communicated to Frankfurt. Who knows? The documents I've seen make very clear that it was. And the notion that this board should go back and spend any more time on a $420,000 line item from 2008 and 2009, given all the other fish that we have to fry, I think is not very sensible. So I would propose we move on from that and go back to the other requests that we've got. All right, Steph? Just bouncing back and forth. All right, Lisa? Just requests.
Yeah. I do have a request, and it's that we had a really great work session today from the EQUOC group, the Educator Quality Oversight Committee. Fantastic report, so clearly aligned with the strategic plan. And I had just requested, I guess folks who've been on the board longer already know this, but as a relative newcomer, how their work fits into the overall district structure, so that some assurance that they're not just over on the side doing this fantastic work that then gets put in a drawer. And my impression is that that's clearly not the case. And thank you, Tom, for nodding. But I would just love to get some better understanding of how that all fits into the organizational structure.
Okay, thank you. Diane? Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have some items. I have about 5 requests, and I'm not sure if we're going to get some feedback here. Yeah, this is it doesn't like both of us. Yeah. My first request really kind of comes back to a vote we made last time we met. And the board voted during that time on some new policies, and we also voted, the suggestion was made, and it was also motioned and then seconded, and then voted on that we dismiss with the second reading of those policies. I'm not sure if we're aware of it, but we actually broke our own board policy when we did that. Board policy section 01.5 says enactment of policies. It states policies shall be submitted to the board for first reading prior to approval of the board. In an emergency situation, the board may enact or revise a policy in the same meeting that is initially introduced. There was no emergency that was state it. Emergency, later on, board policy does go on to say, in another section when it's talking about special meetings, it says emergency conditions exist such that injury or damage or personal property or financial loss to the board is likely less, and then you can give less than 24 hours notice to be given to that meeting, but that's the only time emergency is really stated. My question, I guess, at this, and it could be followed up by a request, is, and I think this is possibly to legal, I mean, because this is a board policy, but is that when the board voted, is that still okay because it broke existing policy, or is it because we voted on it, everything is still fine, or the board chair can answer that if whoever would be most, the best authority on that.
Thanks, and I think that came up immediately afterwards. I did consult counsel, and I'll ask him to to confirm this. Happy to go through all the detail, but the gist of it is, with 2/3 majority, that could be dispensed with, and we had the 2/3 majority. Frank, you want to comment?
That's correct, and I can share with you, Mr. Brady, the email I sent to the chair that explains how under Robert's Rules of Order, which also under board policy governs board meetings, that was a proper motion to suspend the rules, and with the 2/3 majority, it was appropriate to go ahead and take the rules that way.
Okay, I know that's to suspend Robert's rules, but is that to also suspend existing board policy?
Board policy for that purpose is considered a rule.
Okay, so my next question or request from that is, if the council knows that we're breaking policy, and I know in the past when we had other legal counsel here, that if we kind of went into that gray area of actually breaking existing policy, and I know our policy book is really, really big, it's over 500 pages, but please chime in if you know that if we're actually breaking policy. I know our other board counsel has done that in the past, so that's my request.
I think the legal advice is exactly the opposite of what you just said. Would you confirm that there was no breaking of policy?
That's correct, and at that meeting, someone, either the chair or the superintendent, looked at me and asked, "Is that okay?" And I nodded my head. So that was before the vote was taken.
I'm sorry?
I just said it follows Robert's rules.
Okay.
And that's what we're acting under.
Okay. The next other request I have is when it comes to the communications that's been put out about diagnostic testing. The board or the district has recently said, and also the board approved this under the CSIP, that diagnostic testing can be left up to the schools. And it gave the impression that, and it's part of our strategy here, that we're reducing the testing. I did an impromptu poll of the 15 schools within my district, and I found that out of the 15 schools, 14 of them are continuing to do diagnostic testing. So this is something that we might want to consider, and also have a request to kind of give an idea to the board if how prevalent this diagnostic testing is within our district, so we can get a sense as to whether or not we really are continuing to test, or if I only have 1 out of 15 of my schools in my district that's not doing the testing, then that's something I want to need to kind of get an idea for. That's just something I was kind of surprised to find out. I think it'd be beneficial to the board to know if we're going to continue doing diagnostic testing or not. And I do have more requests after this. I saw the superintendent lean forward. I wasn't sure if she wanted to respond.
I was just going to say I can get you that information because I checked that information.
Okay, because I know my area superintendent, at least one of them did a poll, and so she was able to share a lot of that information, and it was really useful. 3 more items here. Code of Conduct Committee. There's been a lot of discussion going back and forth about the lack of teachers during those last 2 meetings. This is something that I kind of feel that we're in the process of excluding the people that are really the boots on the ground for this particular issue. And I know there's been a request sent in by the JCTA to reset those meetings. This is something that I would really like us to consider. I know that has not, the answer so far has been no on this, but I don't think a makeup meeting really truly addresses what's going on in those meetings so far. And I really like to see us be able to reset that code of conduct and make sure that we include teachers, because first 2 meetings that we've had on this, there's really been very little, if any, teacher representation on that, and I think that is a vital input that we need to be able to go forward on that. So that's one. The next one is
That's a request of something?
a request. Yeah, a request to make sure that maybe we can reset those meetings to include teachers. So that's my request on that. The next request is going to be dealing with, and I know the board chair just talked about everyone reads, but I hadn't had a chance to say this. We have an internal audit source that I'd like, perhaps we should engage on this just to get an idea of where the breakdown in communication is. I agree with the chair that this is pretty much public information as far as we knew. I knew about the new nursing program. It's been in there since before I was elected. Didn't seem to be really, there wasn't anything that was hidden on that. In fact, we were pretty transparent in the fact that you saw this on our meeting agenda. I just like to know where the breakdown in communication is, because obviously the state feels that, well, if there was funding for nurses, then it should have been private funding, because that one memo kind of states private funding, but then another memo says external funding, but it doesn't specifically say state funding. I know the munis reports are out there. I've seen those, and that is a form of notification, but that's also really granular, and I know this board has been kind of frustrated by getting budget information via munis report before, because it's really, really, it's really easily kind of dismissed. So I'd like to know if, and I understand there's been some recent communication that's been, like Cordelia talked to about, that's been discovered around that. So I'd like to find out where that breakdown is so we don't have an issue where we're kind of in this kerfuffle, if you will. And I feel like there were, in some bigger cases, I don't want the district to lose trust with the community. And I think that's in the space, that's the space where we're in right now. And I want to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to say, look, we're as upfront as we can be on anything, and we just want to make sure that we don't repeat this mistake, or if there was a mistake in the past. Last request would be, finally, today I was surprised to get some handouts that were uploaded to our e-meeting, our portal. The meeting portal is open to all the public, and it's really designed for you, the public, to be able to see what's on our agenda, and it has attachments that are concerning some things. We had a work session earlier today about HR. At least one of those handouts wasn't actually posted on e-meeting until 12:21 this afternoon. That's when I got the notification. I know this board has consistently asked that this information be posted well in advance, at least a Wednesday beforehand. And in fact, the policy I mentioned earlier that was passed last time specifically mentions that agenda items and related presentations for supporting background material shall be provided to the board members on or before the Wednesday preceding the regular board meeting. I'm astounded that we're still dealing with this. I have complained about this. I have mentioned this. Other board members have talked about this. It's not fair to us, because we invest a lot of time getting ready for these meetings. It's not fair to you as the public to not have access to these materials. I know that at least one of these handouts was provided to the administration the Thursday before this meeting, but it wasn't posted until 12 o'clock or 12:21 this afternoon. So my request is, please make sure that this information is uploaded.
Thank you. Diane?
Thank you. I'd just like to say that for the last few minutes, we've done a great conversation about various things that deal with the operating principles of this meeting. And perhaps we, the board, needs to have a work session to take this offline, because at the end of the night, when people go home, I hope we're talking about, can somebody read and can they do math? And if we as a board have some organizational issues about when things are posted and those kinds of things, I would ask that we take it offline and have a work session with the board to get it all talked out so that we can, for the sake of learning, talk more about the students and the teachers and the staff for the Jefferson County Public Schools, because I think that is how we will be beneficial for this community. Personal opinion, I'm entitled to have one, but I think we have spent a lot of time talking about things, not students, not learning, and I guess I'm a little concerned about that. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so let's use that as a segue to the last part of this, which is the board agenda planning calendar. The topic of the board procedure changes has been introduced, and those changes were for several purposes. One was to try to get hold of the amount of time we were spending on a wide range of topics via the consent calendar takedowns. A second was the agenda setting process to ensure that, as Ms. Porter said, we spend our time on things that directly relate to students and to outcome assessment. I think in this process, this will be the first discussion of planning calendar since we changed those procedures. And as chair, I feel like I have a couple of mandates. One is to get us focused on what matters and out of the ditch on all these details, which Dr. Alsbury refers to as management inquiry instead of goal monitoring, and focus on what matters. But second is to give people confidence that they can trust that the agenda will actually reflect what people are interested in. Because, you know, I heard loud and clear that people are worried on the board that there will be diktat about what goes into the agenda, not reflection of what people are actually asking for. So with apologies to the audience, and Ms. Porter, I ask your deference, I want to go through this a little bit more than we would. Maybe we should have another work session, but we don't have time on our calendar right away. Let's look at the on-deck issues. I'd ask all of you to pull up the actual planning calendar. And what I'd like to do is just take these as examples of these are the things that have surfaced over the past few meetings from the board members, and I'll tell you where they are going in the agenda. Some of them may be reflected, some of them not. I'm probably going to botch it a little bit because Dr. Hargens and I haven't coordinated to actually look at what made it into the final calendar. But let's see, maybe we can pull that up on the screen. Angie, can you get that? The actual planning calendar. So the first item is the session with Dr. Alsbury. We all want to hear more from him. We were going to, the goal is no later than March to have him back. He will be in Louisville for the KSBA meeting that is coming up, and we're trying to get him to come over and spend some time with us in the, on the fringes of that meeting. So that'll be where we have the next opportunity to talk to him and to get his advice. Next item on that, and I mean, if anybody wants to interrupt me on any of these particular things.
Well, I'm just.
Yeah, Linda, go ahead.
My question is, we've already moved ahead, and
Yes.
the things that we were going to ask him about, we've already moved ahead on.
Well, you can still ask him when he comes back, but
policies.
we took his top 3 urgent recommendations and we have implemented them, and that's done. So you can talk to him more about that, but we're going to move on from there.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't see any point in
Well,
having him come back.
then we're just done, and we'll move on to his other comments. The salary study is the next item. It is listed as pending completion. We're going to hear in April about the salary study, I think in a work session. Is that correct? And the recommendations or the direction that are going to come out of that. Oh, great. Where did the salary study go?
April 26th.
Okay, it's already on the calendar. All right, it's moved up on. All right, so it's already up on the. So that's April 26th. All right, the facilities plan. There are 2 dates for that. There's going to be a work session on March 22nd, and then, as I mentioned earlier, the full report will come out in June, be dissected, and then we'll figure out where to go from there. The trauma-informed approaches to education is the next item I have on there. That we're aiming for March or April. We don't have a specific time, but that is the framework in which that will come back. There is the next item is student assignment and transportation discussion. There are 2 pieces to that. The transportation discussion is going to be part of the finance working group's look, and also part of when we get the facilities readout. Then we're going to come back and say, what do we need to, how are we going to organize around transportation? So the money part of transportation, Chuck, is going to be within the penumbra of what you're figuring out, what do we need to get, all right, with Tom's help. And then the broader question is going to integrate with our facilities look. The question of the student assignment plan is not one that we have yet worked into this. There are other pieces that are going on. We've got the magnet steering group that's working, and we've got different things. That's the one piece of this that we don't yet know where to put in the calendar. board committees and work groups. I think I already mentioned this, Linda, to you, but the post-facilities presentation in June will then plan to sort of get together again and see what else do we want to do. You had another suggestion for, do you want to raise that now?
Yes, I had thought that we might do culture and climate kind of committee or work group because we're dealing with all of these issues with that. So
I think that's that is a good suggestion. I would suggest we put it.
Can I just say that that's part of what the wellness and well-being work group will be taking a look at, that social emotional learning piece and school climate. So we're working on that. So
I think I would say, I've had a little bit of interaction with Linda on this. I think to me there feels like there's a dividing line between the pieces of culture and climate that relate to what Alan Young talked about in the EQUOC work group, where, how do we have a vibrant school with good facilities and with what the teachers need in terms of support to do their work. But then there's another piece of culture that relates both to discipline and teacher confidence, that they have support around that. And I think also comfort and trust in the leadership, between the leadership and the other people who work in the school. Linda, did I sort of capture that? So yes. I think it's a fair call out to let's see where we get with the one work group, but I think Linda still has a good, I mean, we have identified for 2 years in a row in Dr. Hargan's review, culture as an area for real focus. And how do we get, as a board, feedback on that, I think is the question. Is that all right? So that is now going to move to the questions on deck, if that makes sense. Restorative practice, implementation, and goal monitoring. I think, Dr. Hargans, do you want to mention a new position related to that?
There is a director of restorative practices in Dr. Marshall's shop. So as that person gets on board, then we will do a session about implementation, how we're going to plan to roll out. And we have a couple of trips planned, one to Ohio and then another one to Denver to visit restorative practices schools.
Yeah, and I think there's also some conversation going on with community groups about should there be sort of additional community resources put into this question of restorative practices, discipline overall. How do we learn best practices from other places where we may not have travel money in the budget, but we may need to get beyond the trips that we've been able to work. But there's no date for that. But so my feedback there is there's work underway. Yes. And then the last thing is there's a request for more information on success pathways with data differentiation. That one is going to come to us as a written report because it's a more technical subject, I think was the framework. So I apologize for the length of that, but that's the, I mean, I think what we ought to expect from this iterative process is that board members put forward their ideas. We try to relate them to strategic goals, to the work that the district is trying to do. And then, you guys get to have confidence that either things are finding their way into the calendar and information, and the opportunity to monitor the district's achievement of the goals is coming, or if the majority of the board disagrees with your request, that at least we make that clear that we're staying focused as a group on where we think we ought to go as a majority. So Steph and then Linda.
One of the things I just appreciate the willingness basically to give more of the strategic planning updates. I know that the format right now, it for some reason, I've expressed this offline, just it's not doing it like Donna in your superintendent's report. It's just, like a one-way street. And I know that isn't what you intend at all.
Yeah.
And I just want to, in a sense, call it out that I think that because we have an inability to, as a group, talk outside of these meetings, that this is really our only format, and in a work session it doesn't quite, but we want to put our action, our action should talk louder than our words, so we should have action items to be having some more dialogue on strategy and where we are, and not just in the Donna's report, so we can have this interplay.
I think
if I'm saying it right.
No, that's a good call out. I apologize. I meant to introduce this with, there are two pieces to what we're trying to do. One is Donna is going to report on some pieces of Vision 2020, but one piece of the report, in her report, she mentioned, I think that they're loading all this stuff into software that is, and software may not be, we basically are going to have a red, yellow, green sort of a framework that enables us to keep score and keep track a little bit better. But I will second the notion, Steph, that you put forward, that the report is good, but it's not going to be enough for us to just hear, kind of a one-way street. We do need to create the space in our agenda to look at those really big things and feel like we actually can understand them.
Donna, if you can, Dr. Harkins, if you can give us, I know that you want that collaboration with the board, because we do represent constituencies, the whole district. We all do. We're the voice, and so we want to. How do you feel about that? Where can that fit? What I mean?
And I think that can fit easily in a work session, or there were two agenda items that were directly related to Vision 2020, the Bellarmine Literacy Project, and what else did we do? Bellarmine Literacy Project and HR infrastructure. So those two things are an opportunity for the board to talk and give feedback directly related to Vision 2020. So that's a good example.
It is, but how can we get that into our regular board meetings? So it gives us, if we're supposed to be discussing high-level strategy, like I would with any board, where is it on our agenda? It can't just be this, there isn't really a spot. You know what I mean?
So let me take that in two pieces. I think one is this needs to be an iterative process with feedback on how's it going, because we're trying to change the way the board spends its time from too much in the weeds to actually monitoring the achievement of the goals that we've set out. And I don't think we have a perfect answer to that right now. On the other hand, two of the to me at least, of all the things that are in that plan, a couple preliminary things is, one is we have got to get better at recruiting and retaining teachers, and that implies a rejuvenation of HR. So that's it's nerdy, and HR doesn't always get everybody excited, but that's a key to our ability to succeed in the future. And so we got to start on that, and we were told we will get metrics on how that's coming. With respect to the third grade reading pledge, I think we got interrupted a little bit, but one of the ways that maybe we should have set that up better is, how do we know we can achieve that? Do we have anything that is working today that actually gets, we look back on Everyone Reads and some progress, but not achievement of the goal that Dr. Dashner set out. But the answer that we heard in that work session today was, yeah, we got something that's working with Bellarmine. So we've got to come back, I think, and that'll go on the on-deck issues. What is a monitoring tool that's not a 50-page spreadsheet, but a...
Not operational.
Yeah.
Looking
Yeah.
for monitoring, and having really Dr. Harkins...
Yeah.
Just reporting directly to the board, you reporting. We don't want to micromanage your team, but we just want to hear from you on the main, the strategy on status, on an ongoing basis, on achievement, on the third grade reading pledge. We want to hear from you. We would like you to speak to it and let us know what's going on an ongoing basis, so we are providing oversight, and you are accountable. Really, you're our it's you and us, and funding, and we want to hear from you.
Yeah, that's good. That's my cue to shut up and see if anybody else has items for the agenda.
Well, I did want to get on there at some point, an update on the minority recruitment a little bit later on down the line, but I would like to have some feedback on how are we doing a little bit later
Great.
on the calendar.
Okay.
And then I had a question. You know, the curriculum management audit laid out about 10 recommendations that we had that would have annual reports. And we did that we tried to kind of keep up with those reports for a year or so. But not that I want to put that on the calendar, but what happens to that? I mean, it recommended annual reports on various things, and I know I made notes on it and kept it on my paper for a long time. But what do we do with that now? Do we not continue those annual reports and say, well, now we're on to a new strategic plan, and so that's not part of it? Or what do we do with that?
Well, and I could actually give an update because the 10 recommendations have really been woven into our work, but I think it's a good suggestion to point out how that really has driven our work. So
at least every once in a while, tie it back so we can see we really are living that curriculum management audit too. Might be good.
That's a good idea. Okay, other suggestions, requests? Lisa?
I think it's implicit, but the number one priority in the strategic plan is the deeper learning piece, right? And so that was going to involve a lot of rethinking how we do assessment. So clearly we need to have some explicit information about what's happening there.
Yeah, and I guess if I may just pile on to that, I think we haven't really as a board had an update on the new federal legislation, what the state has in Senate Bill 1, and we somehow managed to get some of the community riled up by the fact that we actually took a step to create opportunity to eliminate some testing. People somehow have the idea that that is the end of the road, when in fact it's a quick first step at the very, very beginning of the road. But we've got to get the federal and state environments into focus. Nobody really understands the feds yet, I don't think, and the state hadn't taken action, but you've got to tell us something. Okay, what else? Okay. Yeah, sorry, Steph.
That I don't know where this fits within, but the idea of the deeper learning, especially with gifted and talented children on opposite ends of the spectrum, I'm just still I don't know where that fits. I guess it will come within the deeper learning, just to challenge. We got that great report about recently showing what they're doing with the ECE children, and also with the priority children, the 90-90-90 that we got.
Yeah,
so it's things like that. What are we doing? And that fits in all within the deeper learning. And we just want to hear really not from them, but is that being implemented district-wide? Is it happening, those 10 things? Do you know what I mean? So what are we doing with the ECE, whether it's gifted or not? And then, so those are just things I'm not sure where they fit, but I know it all goes in that deeper learning. It's all within that.
Okay,
but it's from you, not necessarily from your staff.
And if I could add deeper learning and personalization, those, because again, that's another thing that is in the strategic plan document. I think you all said it would take the year 2016 to figure out how to define those terms. But let's get that into the planning calendar for when we're going to come back with sort of the first swipe at what those definitions would be. Good. Anything else? Okay, we've beaten this horse pretty much to death. I think, is there a vote to receive the planning calendar? All right, Chris moves, Linda seconds. All in favor? Aye. Very good, thank you. There are now, hold on, there are 6 speakers on the non-agenda items portion. So we will now begin the non-agenda speakers. Each speaker has 3 minutes to address the board. At the end of 2.5, a bell will sound once. At the end of 3, it will sound twice, indicating that your time is up. And the normal course is for the superintendent to get back to the speaker on any request for information or questions posed. So the first speaker is Chris Finzer. Chris Finzer, speaking on restorative practices and personnel. I'm sorry, I should have. We do not. There's not. No, but if you can remind me, I know, but if you can remind me, I can see.
Good evening. My name is Chris Finzer, and I represent the community organization Clout. I was a social worker for 30 years, and in that time I worked with hundreds of children from JCPS. We'd like to congratulate JCPS for hiring a new restorative practices coordinator and for moving forward to train more people in restorative practices. With the extreme increase in suspensions and serious problems in our alternative schools and our community have never needed restorative practices more than they do now. For those who weren't at the Code of Conduct Committee last week, Dr. Judy Vanderhaar reported that suspensions are not effective in reducing inappropriate behavior. In fact, Dr. Vanderhaar reported that suspensions create aggressive and antisocial behaviors. We all want our children to take ownership for their actions, to be engaged with their schools, to be safe, and to have a fair chance to succeed. And your own experts are telling us that suspensions can't do this. In fact, they're telling us that suspensions make the problem worse. That's why we now see suspensions going up and growing concerns over school safety. I stand here tonight representing thousands of students, parents, grandparents, clergy, and teachers in our congregations who are literally kept up at night worrying about unsafe schools and their children being pushed off track. I represent a community that is angry that we can't be sure our kids will be safe at school. We would not be doing our duty as parents and citizens if we did not make 3 very simple and reasonable demands. 1, recognize the crisis. 2, follow the data. And 3, implement whole school restorative practices using best practice methods. In Hamilton, Ohio, they used experienced implementation experts from the International Institute for Restorative Practices to train 3 schools for only $50,000. In the first semester, suspensions declined in all 3 schools, and the teacher absence rate dropped 14%. Give our kids the chance to experience real, whole school restorative practices. Our kids and teachers need real RP, not just PR. As Dr. Dawson Edwards said at the last board meeting, teachers are interested, but they wonder, how will I find time to make sure my school learns this? It's up to you to make sure teachers have the time and resources to make our schools safe and to keep kids on track to graduate. This is the right thing to do. It will improve academic achievement, increase the graduation rate, and save the district millions of dollars. Our children, our families, and our city deserve your action to address this crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker. All right, our next speaker is William Comp. William Comp, speaking on board policies. You have 3 minutes, 1 bell after 2.5, 2 bells after 3.
Thank you. 2 weeks ago, this board approved, waived the rules, waived a second reading, and then approved a measure which was meant to increase the efficiency of this board's time. This proposal included all questions for JCPS administration be submitted ahead of time, no request for new reports come directly out of meetings, signing of a pledge to follow the rules, and the chair can talk to board members, talk in quotes, about not following the rules. Oh, and Brady gets to go to the woodshed and ground it from his Xbox. With this policy, the chair can ground my board member because they aren't playing nice on something that appears in a presentation in the name of making the board more efficient. This may make the board more efficient in terms of simple metrics like topics per minute. However, the school enterprise decisions are not best served by such simplistic thinking. Substance is the key to education. Quantity is not necessarily better than quality. There is no simple ROI to be computed here. There is no simple model to compute the interactions that occur in education. Wiser systems focus on open observation and discussions to advance forward. This is a body that governs schools. One of the most fundamental methods of learning is to ask questions. Suppose a Fortune 500 company were to stop permitting questions during their meetings. How much would that cost the company? What if only people in the area hosting the meeting were allowed to ask questions? How much would that cost them? Of paramount importance is that when my elected representative board member is asking a question, not in a script, and suggesting a change to a report to give better insight, then my board member is doing what I elected that person to do, which may not fully reconcile with some arbitrary pledge. The most important pledge that my board member took was the pledge to serve on the board as the voice of the family and taxpayers of that district. If the board member has to break the rules in the eyes of a chair to fulfill the needs of the voters, then so be it. A similar report suggesting limiting speeches from the public. Currently, the public is not allowed to rebut some presentations or reports in the same board meeting as they were given. Perhaps when there are many public speakers wanting to speak at the meeting, that the board should take notice and appreciate the desire of the public to participate in the dialogue and perhaps to complete the dialogue. It should be more open to public concerns and not less so. This organization is not a private corporation. It is a public institution. Perhaps more successful boards are more successful for reasons outside of board members not providing softball scripts for the administration to easily handle. Success sometimes requires tough questions that come out only in divine moments. If one such moment occurs during a board meeting and my board member is prepared and inspired by it, then I consider that question a service well done by asking it. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Next speaker is Rob Matthew. Rob, on Everyone Reads. 3 minutes, 1 bell after 2.5. Begin when ready.
Alrighty. I'd like to take the opportunity to express my concerns with the recent WDRB story on the changes in the uses of funding for the Everyone Reads program. My concerns are as follows. First, I consider reading to be the fundamental skill that feeds our children's achievement. I would not have had my own academic success had my parents not instilled in me the love of reading by surrounding my brother and me with books and words. Learning how to read at an early age fueled my curiosity and love of learning. It helped me develop the research, critical thinking, and other skills necessary to become a successful student. To learn that a once vibrant program devoted to providing similar opportunities to children was on the decline and had seen its focus shift to something completely different is alarming. Second, information on the original purpose of Everyone Reads is very easy to find on the internet and JCPS website. Information on the program transitioning into an initiative to hire nurses is much more difficult to find. Mentions of this new program seem to exist in very few places, and those are mostly school board meeting agendas where the item is presented as one of the consent agenda items amongst other funding items. If this transition was as transparent as several board members in the administration have stated, why is the information available on it so scant? Why is there no mention of this nurses program in the press conference relaunching Everyone Reads? And where is the discussion of Everyone Reads More, which was previously mentioned, the supposed new title of the initiative that has been mentioned several times here? Third, it troubles me that when JCPS was aware of WDRB's story, instead of acknowledging it and getting in front of it with facts, documentation, information that address concerns, JCPS instead issued an email blast that awkwardly mentions the program in the broader context of Governor Bevin's state budget cuts. Does anyone think this is an effective way to handle communications or PR? And does anyone think that a Bevin administration that is gung-ho on privatizing education isn't going to review requests for funding in light of this story adversely? Fourth, Everyone Reads is a worthy initiative. Placing nurses in schools is also a worthy initiative. Both should have been pursued independently. The act of completely redefining an established program so it can justify using its funding to pay for another initiative does not instill public confidence, nor does keeping information about that switch to a bare minimum, no matter how valid both programs are. When you add the way that JCPS has responded to the information being brought out in the media, there's a very real danger that public support and funding for these programs will dry up or disappear completely. Fifth, it bothers me that time and time again, the board and the administration seem not to realize that the public's perception of these stories and their larger perception of JCPS. The prolonged lack of a dedicated communications team and a strategy for honestly and openly handling the issues confronted by JCPS only fuels the negative perception of the system. Even if JCPS has been compliant with the letter of the law in the way it has used funding for Everyone Reads, the board, communications staff, and superintendent should understand that diverting these funds from an established and widely recognized community program will raise a few eyebrows. JCPS should present a message that shows they understand the public's concerns and addresses them point by point, not one that simply dismisses them as absurd. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sharon Frank. Sharon Frank, speaking on teacher voice. 3 minutes, 1 bell after 2.5.
Good evening. Dear JCPS, I wrote a letter Sunday night to the board because I am deeply troubled by the conditions at the school in which I teach. I am a school librarian at Wheatley Elementary School. I am in my first year at JCPS, though I'm not a novice. I came here having worked for 13 years in the public school systems in Alexandria, Virginia, and in Fairfax County, Virginia. So I have a lot of experience working with inner city children, impoverished children, Title I schools. So this is not culture shock for me. And I want to make a shout out to the staff at Wheatley. The educators there are a fabulous group of people who work hard every single day. So this is not in any way a criticism of our school. But I want to implore you, the board, to please come to Wheatley. Please come in and see what our students are dealing with. We have students who come from more than tremendously impoverished backgrounds. They are coming from backgrounds of abuse and neglect. It's not their fault. They're coming from backgrounds where parents are in jail. They're coming from backgrounds where they might not even know their parents. And since you were just talking about a board issue about teaching the whole child, the socioeconomic growth, or socio-emotional growth, we need to recognize that the reason our students are struggling so much at Wheatley is because our students are not ready to learn, because they're so concerned with their very survival. And yet we're still being judged the same way. We have to work, do our jobs. We're told, do our jobs, go educate the children. These children need so much more. And I am asking you for your support. We need a student-teacher ratio that is way smaller than we have. We need something closer to an 8-to-1 student-teacher ratio, because even though our students are not identified as such, they are emotionally, behaviorally challenged students. We need more mental health support in our school. And when the students have their needs met, then we will be able, as educators, to provide an excellent education for them. But we need your help, and we can't do it alone. And I don't know why I'm the first person to speak up about this, because it's something that is near and dear in my heart. I just want to close by saying I love my students dearly, and that's why I have put myself at risk coming before you today and by writing the letter that I wrote, because I want you to know how much I love my students and care about them, and that they're far more important to a teacher than my career and how it's going to go from here. As a librarian, I have to quote the Lorax, I speak for the trees because the trees can't speak for themselves. I'm speaking for my children and their parents right now. And Horton says, a person is a person no matter how small. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sarah Vincent. Sarah Vincent on Shadow a Student.
As you know, next week is National Shadow a Student Day. I'm here tonight to follow up on the challenge that fellow student Peyton Edelman presented a month ago. Since we first made this challenge, classmates from across our district have come forward to invite each of you to shadow them. Therefore, each of you has received information from a real student who would like to share their day with you. The invitation contains their contact information to help you connect with your student and make your shadow day as easy as possible. I'm honored to have Ms. Duncan already accept my invitation to be my shadow next Monday, to walk the halls with me and see my school through my eyes. We're also honored that Ms. Horn and Dr. Wilner have already accepted the Shadow a Student Challenge as well. Ms. Horn has even signed up to ride the bus. We hope everyone who has the important responsibility of making decisions that impact our future understands that our challenges cannot be solved by making decisions by looking at the data alone. You get a better understanding of the why behind the data and the best ways to improve situations. by seeing what really happens in the hallways, in the classrooms, and talking to teachers, students, and staff. Thank you for your dedication to the students and for setting aside a day to shadow students. We are excited for this chance to share a glimpse of our daily school life. Hopefully, we can both learn something from our day together, and you can use our experience to keep making our schools into the best they can be. Thanks.
Thank you. The last speaker is Reverend Daryl Fari. Reverend Daryl Fari. Reverend Daryl Fari. Okay. This concludes our speakers on non-agenda items. There is no executive session needed this evening, so if there is a motion to adjourn, I would entertain it. Okay, Ms. Porter moves, Mr. Brady seconds, all in favor? Uh-oh. Do we have contention about adjourning? All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you very much. We're adjourned.